Welcome back to our discussion about the 5 gold nuggets. In this discussion, we're going to talk about a very important gold nugget in your life and in your career. If you run a business, this is a very important gold nugget that all of us have to deal with, this gold nugget. Let's go back to California and talk about the idea of California being the gold rush. California is where the gold was. You probably know San Francisco and San Jose, but really Sutter's Mill was away from the bay. It was up a little bit more towards Nevada, up there in the highlands. Well, 1 in 5 miners that came out to California, that they actually died within 6 months. Very rugged work, there's still winter there and harsh weather. It was difficult to get there, as you know, but typically about 20% of people died within the first 6 months. So people never saw their family members again. There's John going off to California, and all right, John, keep us posted. And then John died within 6 months of being there. No one ever knew what happened. So it was a mystery. You can imagine not knowing, and then what happened to John. Or you had people that went out there and they didn't find gold. It was, luck. And they didn't know how to get back home. They didn't have any money. They couldn't get back home. They couldn't communicate. You couldn't make a phone call back to your family. So there was just a void that that individual was just gone. Don't know where they are or what happened to them. So many never saw their family again. Then, because this was pretty much lawlessness, that there was all sorts of class tension between people that had money to come out and invest and people that were more scrappy and they're living in tents and they wanted to work and get their fortune. You had some class tension between these two parties. And so there was crime and recklessness, and it's where the idea of the wild, wild west came from, because anything goes. We've all seen the cowboy movies or watched Deadwood, which is a great series, but that's about silver, not gold. Anyway, we had the wild, wild west out there. It was just a lot of lawlessness and reckless behavior. But who made the money in the gold rush? Well, the early adapters, that we have the people who are on the leading edge, the people that got it there first, that they found the most gold and had the most opportunity. So we call that idea about being on the leading edge of technology, the leading edge of an industry, the leading edge of whatever it may be. So the people who got there first, the early adopters, they took advantage, they had luck to be there first. Few miners actually made it rich. Most people, you got a little bit of gold or you went broke. The real money came, though, from the idea of mining the miners. So mining the miners is a term that we don't see this as much anymore, but still very applicable. Whenever there's some hot trend, there's all these ancillary things that go with that hot trend. So for example, we see a lot about AI right now. So there are books and classes and software and how-to guides that show you how to use AI. We see this a lot in different industries. If we go back in time, we have the MCSE, the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer, same thing, books and people that would coach you and training and so on, that it helps you get to that goal. Well, sometimes we call that mining the miners. Mining the miners are the people that they made the money off the people looking for gold. So like Sam Brannan that had the dry goods store. But did you know Levi Strauss? Levi's have a big office, or their headquarters, I believe, is in San Francisco. Levi Strauss, the jeans that you wore, you needed some good pants to be down there digging in this water and whatnot. So you need some good, durable clothing. So Levi Strauss, the jeans that came about as a result of the gold rush. And then how do people going to get there? It was really difficult to get out to California. So these entrepreneurs of Crocker, Hopkins, Huntington, and Stanford, they had the railroad to get out to California to go west. So who made the money were the people that got there first, the early adapters, or people that were very, very lucky, or the people that made money from people on their way to find the gold. Now, one individual who really came out of the gold rush is Mark Twain. You probably know Mark Twain with our Samuel Clemens and Tom Sawyer. Well, Mark Twain went to California, but really he missed the gold rush. He didn't get there until 1863, so he was kind of late to the game. And he lived in San Francisco area on Jackass Hill was the name where Mark Twain lived. Well, he went into this bar or this restaurant, was hanging out as writers are known to do. And he heard this story about this jumping frog. And he said, well, this is very interesting. And he embellished it and took that to the next step and wrote this story that really, really launched his career, The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County. So you could do a little research on that. But that's one of the first stories that Twain wrote that really launched his career, that he was somebody that was funny and could tell a story. But one of the things that Twain said in his career, of course, as he got more and more experience, and I love this quote, and I often embrace it. We probably all have heard some version of this, that 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. That regrets are going to haunt us more than things that we tried and failed at. When we try and fail, at least we tried. If you don't try, you'll never know. So I say often in my life that time is limited, that we only have so much time, you only have so much health and so much energy. Whatever you want to do, you should go do it. If you want to start a business, you should go do it. If you want to travel the world, you should go do it. You want to take a year and live in an RV or live in a van, you should go do it. If you want to start a YouTube channel, you should go do it. We only have so much time. I've had a lot of loss in my life in the last few years, and that's a lesson that I've learned, that this is temporary. All of this is temporary, and you never know what's going to happen. So the lesson that I've learned, the same lesson that Twain tells us, that you should go and take those opportunities, take the chance. Well, the success of the gold rush, it brought 300,000 people to California ultimately. One individual, Joe Dye, he found 40,000 of gold in just 7 weeks, so did pretty well. Daler and McCune, they found $17,000 of gold in 1 week. And then one boy was out there working with his dad, and he found $2,700 worth of gold in just 2 days. So got lucky, that was great, had some success. But of course there were some failures, some real greed, and just some real lawlessness, that people took advantage of each other. That one egg sold for $3. And keep in mind, this is like 1850. A loaf of bread was about $2. A pound of butter was $6. A tin of sardines, delicious, was $16. Now a horse, before the gold rush, you could get a horse for about $6. After the gold rush, it cost $300. So gold had made people have gold fever. They got a little crazy. They took advantage of one another. But you had lots of money. If you were finding gold, you had lots of money, or you needed these things to live, so they took advantage. So it wasn't all great. We did have some failures. So we've talked about people that took the chance and failed, and people that took the chance and they were successful. So we have risk and reward. Risk and reward. So the risk is you might fail, but it could also be you might make a lot of money. You could have a lot of fortune in your life for yourself and your family and so on. So risk and reward, that idea goes back to Twain, that you're going to have regrets about the things you didn't do. So take the risk in anticipation of the reward. If you want to start a business, take an educated risk, but you know that the reward has to be in proportion to the risk. Risk is not a bad thing. It just describes the upside or the downside. That we have pure risk and we have business risk. Pure risk is danger. So someone could get injured. So you had pure risk in getting to California. Like we saw 20% of people died in the first 6 months they were there. It was very difficult to get to California. You might die on the way. You might get stranded in Panama. So there was pure risk. Someone could get injured. But business risk could be you have an investment and you make money or you lose money. Business risk is usually what most of us think about, calculated risk, like starting a business or a side hustle or what have you, that there's risk and reward for your time and your energy. You might lose some, you might make some, you might break even. But this is our gold nugget for this conversation, is you need risk and reward. We have to look at the risk, at the probability and the impact, and then what do we get in return for that? What's our reward? What comes to it? So the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward should be. So people took that boat ride for 6 months all the way out to California. That was a lot of time in their life, very difficult, very expensive. You get sick and so on. But they took that risk because they wanted the reward of becoming very wealthy. So risk and reward, they have to balance one another. All right, great job. Keep moving forward.